Hello, and welcome to the Commissioner's Corner. I'm Fort Bend County Commissioner Grady Prestage. Counties in Texas have no land use authority. Land use authority means that they don't have the ability to zone certain areas for certain types of developments. They can't tell a property owner that he can only build commercial here or residential there. And that has kept counties pretty much out of controversial issues. Cities, on the other hand, can impose zoning requirements, and in such you tell people what they can and can't do with their land. Sometimes they're happy, sometimes they're not. Counties have not had that authority, and so we don't have those problems. But there's some things that counties can chime in on. One is when it comes to supporting or not supporting low-income housing tax credit projects. Apartment projects make sense if they're done of one of two ways. They're either Class A apartments that are great locations, great amenities, the highest rent that you can possibly get in that area. So a new project would have to be a Class A project to get traditional financing. You can't build B, C, or D projects. Those are projects that were once Class A that have deteriorated over time, and they become B and C projects, and the rents are applicable to the type of development you have. The only other new type of project that makes economic sense that can get financed are affordable housing projects that are done with low-income housing tax credits. The low-income housing tax credit is a federal program whereby the federal government decided years ago that it was in the best interest of this country to have decent housing for its workforce. And to help make those things economically feasible, they provide tax credits to the states. Each state in the union, based on its population, gets an allocation of tax credits. And those tax credits are granted to developers in a competitive process. So developers submit their applications in a competitive fashion, and they're scored based on the criteria that they meet on that application. Those that have all the items on the application will likely score higher. Those that don't are not going to get funding. This tax credit is actually an investment tool that is sold to investors to raise the money to leverage those projects. So you will sell those tax credits to investors who, when they purchase them, they buy them at a discount, which means they buy them for less than the true value of it, but they get the full tax write-off. And the dividends that are earned as a part of that development, if it makes money, and they all do, are free from federal taxes. So it's a very, very good financial investment that investors buy, companies buy as a tax shelter. But the bottom line is the developer gets enough money to go to the bank as his down payment and borrow money to build his complex, which would have to be managed a certain way for 15 years. The tax credit process is very competitive, and counties and cities, depending on where they are asked to either support or not support these projects. And sometimes it makes a difference in whether or not a development gets funded, scores enough points, or doesn't get funded. And the county has traditionally avoided these kind of things because they just weren't interested in it. As the county grew and developed, we found that there was a need for some of these projects. Oftentimes, the communities of homes, those communities are oftentimes afraid or reluctant to see apartment complexes going near their subdivision, which is a valid complaint. No one wants their property value diminished by something that'll drag it down. But it's been proven over and over again that apartments don't necessarily reduce the value of property. Property is based on comparable sales of similar homes in that area. And so, but the fears are legitimate, and they're concerned about it. And so as a policy, me and my office and the Commissioner's Court, we look at these projects individually, determine whether or not they're good or they're bad. All projects aren't suited for certain areas. And a lot of times we tell the developer that we're not interested in this project, we don't think it's a good project. It's not in the best interest of the community. But sometimes they're right on target. They're projects that are needed to spur development in the area, to provide the customers that stores and the retail outlets and the restaurants need to be viable businesses. So we will take these things on a case-by-case basis. As I have been in office a long time, I guess I've matured a little bit, and I, for one, was always against apartment complexes, whether they were Class A or tax credit apartments. But I've taken a more thoughtful look, and I think for my betterment, a more mature look at whether these things have merit or not. People need a place to live. And many of us, many of you watching this thing, have lived in apartments. And it's not necessarily fair to cascade all people who live in apartments as not being desirable people. Some people are empty nesters. They don't want to upkeep their house. Some people are starting out on the jobs and can't afford a home of their own, but they need to rent. But they're a vital part of the fabric of this community. People who work those jobs, low-wage jobs, are trying to build themselves up and trying to be in the middle class and trying to do better about themselves and their families. So we'll take these cases on these apartment complexes on a case-by-case basis, and we'll try to make decisions that are in the best interest of all of Fort Bend County. That's it for this edition of the Commissioner's Corner. We'll see you next time.